Fleet Commander Thexaval stood on the bridge of his massive warship, the Death's Edge. His 6 eyes glowed with satisfaction as he looked at the tactical display. After 3 months of hunting through empty space, they had finally found prey. The green dot on his screen showed a small human vessel drifting alone near the border of contested space. "Such foolish creatures," Thexaval said to his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Rexthor. "They send their ships into dangerous areas with no protection. No wonder they are so easy to defeat." Rexthor nodded his scaled head in agreement. The Yabai Velkari had conquered 17 different species over the past 50 years. Humans were just another weak race that would soon bow before the might of the Dominion. Their ships were small and poorly armed. Their technology was primitive compared to Velkari weapons that could crack planets in half. "What does the ship carry?" Thexaval asked his sensor officer. "Medical supplies, according to our scans," replied Tactical Specialist Velkara. Her 4 arms worked quickly over the control panels. "The ship appears to be heading to one of their outer colonies. The vessel shows minimal defensive capabilities." Thexaval's mandibles clicked with amusement. Medical supplies meant the humans were trying to help their sick and wounded. Such weakness disgusted him. The Velkari believed that only the strong deserved to live. They had built their empire by destroying anyone who could not defend themselves. "How many ships escort this transport?" Rexthor asked. "None," Velkara replied. "The human ship travels alone. Our intelligence reports say humans often send single ships on supply runs. They believe their space is safe from attack." The bridge crew laughed at this news. Safe space was a concept that weak species created to make themselves feel better. The strong took what they wanted, when they wanted it. The Velkari had proven this truth across dozens of star systems. Thexaval looked at his fleet through the main viewing screen. 3 heavy cruisers and 5 escort ships surrounded his flagship. Each vessel carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The human transport ship would surrender the moment they saw the Velkari fleet approaching. "Begin approach," Thexaval ordered. "Standard formation. Keep weapons powered, but do not target yet. Let them see our strength first." The Velkari ships moved forward like predators approaching wounded prey. Their dark hulls reflected no light, making them look like pieces of space itself come to life. Red weapon ports glowed along their sides, ready to unleash destruction at a moment's notice. On the human ship, Captain Jaiwan sat in her command chair reviewing supply manifests. The Sunrise cargo was carrying emergency medical equipment to the colony on Kepler 442b. A plague had broken out there 2 weeks ago, and the colonists desperately needed the medicines she carried. "Captain," said Communications Officer Kyung-ho, "I'm picking up multiple contacts on long-range sensors. 8 ships, unknown configuration." Jiwon frowned. There should be no other vessels in this area of space. The shipping lanes here were rarely used because they passed so close to the contested zone where alien raiders sometimes attacked human ships. "Can you identify them?" she asked. Kyung-ho worked at his station for several minutes. "Negative, Captain. The ship designs don't match anything in our database. They're big, though. Much bigger than us. Distance and approach vector. 2 light minutes out and closing fast. Their current course will intercept us in approximately 20 minutes. Ji-won felt a chill run down her spine. Unknown ships approaching from the contested zone could only mean one thing: pirates or worse. She had heard stories about alien raiders who attacked human vessels, taking cargo and prisoners. Some ships that entered this region were never seen again. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "Standard greeting protocols. Maybe they're just passing through." On the Velkari flagship, communications. Officer Nexthara received the human transmission. She listened to the message with growing amusement. The humans were actually trying to communicate peacefully, as if they had any choice in the matter. "They're attempting to establish contact," Nexthara reported. "Standard peaceful greeting. They want to know our intentions." Thexval's laugh echoed across the bridge. "Their intentions? How amusing. Open a channel. Let me speak to these primitives directly." The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of the human ship's bridge. Thexval studied the strange bipedal creatures with their soft skin and tiny eyes. They looked so fragile compared to the mighty Velkari. One strike from his claws could probably kill 3 of them. "Human vessel," Thexval said in accented but clear English. "You are now prisoners of the Velkari Dominion. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Surrender your cargo and crew, and your deaths will be quick." Captain Ji-won stared at the terrifying alien face on her screen. The creature had 6 glowing eyes, sharp teeth, and scales that looked harder than steel armor. Behind him, she could see other aliens working at strange control panels. This was clearly a warship, not a merchant vessel. "We are on a medical mission," Ji-won replied calmly. "Our cargo consists of medicines for sick colonists. We mean no harm to you or your people." Thexval's eyes blazed brighter. "Your cargo now belongs to the Dominion. Your ship will be added to our fleet. Your crew will serve as slaves until they die. This is the fate of all who enter Velkari space." Ji-won took a deep breath. She had been in dangerous situations before, but never anything like this. The alien ships completely surrounded her small transport. Their weapons could probably destroy the Sunrise cargo in seconds, but she would not give up without a fight. "You might want to reconsider your approach," she said quietly. "This is your only warning." The alien commander's mandibles clicked in, what might have been laughter. Around him, his crew began making sounds that were clearly mockery. They found her words amusing. "Warning?" Thexval repeated. "You give warnings to us? Your pathetic ship has no weapons worth mentioning. Your species has never won a single battle against a major power. What possible threat could you present? To the might of the Velkari Dominion?" Rexthor leaned over to whisper in his commander's ear. "Perhaps we should simply destroy them now. Taking prisoners requires effort, and their ship has little value." Thexval considered this suggestion. The human vessel was indeed small and poorly armed. Its cargo of medical supplies would have some value on the black market, but not enough to justify the effort of capturing it intact. Perhaps a demonstration of Velkari power would be more useful. Negative, he decided. "I want prisoners for interrogation. Human colonies in this sector may have valuable resources. These creatures will tell us everything they know about their defensive capabilities. On the human ship, Captain G1 watched the alien commander discuss something with his subordinates. She could not understand their language, but their body language suggested they were planning something unpleasant. "Kyung-ho," she said quietly, "send a coded message to Earth Command. Priority 1. Include our location and sensor data on these ships." "Already done, Captain," he replied. "But at this distance, it will take hours for the message to reach friendly forces." Jiwon nodded. They were on their own. 8 alien warships against 1 transport vessel. The odds could not be worse, but she would not surrender without a fight. Too many lives depended on the medical supplies in her cargo hold. The Velkari commander appeared on screen again. His expression showed cruel anticipation. "You have 60 seconds to surrender," Thexaval announced. "After that, we will take your ship by force. Many of your crew will die in the process. Choose wisely, human." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the Sunrise cargo in tense silence. Every human present knew they were about to face their greatest challenge. None of them realized that everything the aliens thought they knew about humanity was about to change forever. The 60 seconds passed like hours on both ships. Fleet Commander Thexaval watched his tactical display with growing impatience. The human vessel remained motionless, neither fleeing nor powering down its engines. Such stubborn behavior was typical of primitive species who did not understand their place in the galaxy. "Time is up," Thexaval announced to his bridge crew. "Begin boarding procedures, deploy assault shuttles. If they resist, destroy their weapon systems but keep the ship intact." Sub-Commander Rexthor activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, move to boarding positions. Maintain weapons lock on the human vessel. Do not let them escape." The Velkari fleet began to close the distance, their massive ships moving with predatory grace. Each vessel was 3 times larger than the human transport, bristling with weapons and armor plating. The Death's Edge alone carried enough firepower to level a city. On the human ship, Captain Jiwon sat calmly in her command chair. Her crew looked nervous, but they trusted their captain completely. She had led them through dangerous situations before, though nothing quite like this. "Captain," said Navigation Officer Su-Yung, "the alien ships are moving into boarding formation. Should we attempt to run?" "Negative," Jiwon replied. "Our engines are no match for their speed. Besides, I think it's time these aliens learned something about human technology." She pressed a button on her command console. "Bridge to engineering. Minho, are you ready down there?" The response came immediately through the ship's communication system. "All systems standing by, Captain. Just give the word." Tactical Specialist Velkara was the first Velkari to notice something unusual. Her sensor readings began showing strange fluctuations around the human ship, energy patterns that made no sense according to known physics principles. "Commander," she called out, "I'm detecting some kind of interference around the human vessel. Their hull configuration appears to be changing." Thexaval turned his 6 eyes toward the main viewing screen. The human ship looked exactly the same as before. Small, boxy, clearly designed for cargo transport rather than combat. Explain these readings. I cannot, sir. The interference is unlike anything in our database. It's almost as if their ship is not what it appears to be. Before Thexval could respond, the space around the human vessel began to shimmer like water. The air itself seemed to bend and twist, creating patterns of light that hurt to look at directly. The Velkari bridge crew watched in fascination and growing concern. "What kind of technology is this?" Rexthor whispered. The shimmering effect intensified, and suddenly the human ship began to change. The small cargo vessel started growing larger, its hull expanding in all directions. Weapon ports opened along its sides like predatory mouths. Armor plating slid into place with mechanical precision. Within 30 seconds, the harmless transport ship had transformed into something completely different. The vessel now dwarfed even the largest Velkari cruiser. Massive gun turrets rotated to track the alien ships. Shield generators hummed with barely contained energy. "By the void," Thexval breathed. "What manner of deception is this?" The human ship's new configuration defied everything the Velkari knew about starship design. It was at least 5 times larger than their flagship, with weapon systems that followed no known design principles. The hull itself seemed to absorb light, making it difficult to determine the ship's exact dimensions. On the bridge of what was now revealed to be the UES Retribution, Admiral Minho took his position in the command chair. He was a tall man with graying hair and eyes that had seen many battles. Behind him, his experienced crew worked with calm efficiency. "Holographic camouflage disengaged," reported Chief Science Officer Yojin. "All systems showing green across the board. The aliens appear to be in shock." "Understandable reaction," Minho replied. "They've never encountered adaptive holographic technology before. Most species develop energy shields first, then work on offensive capabilities. Humans chose a different path." Weapons Officer Hyejin turned from her station. "All weapon systems online and ready, Admiral. The aliens have stopped moving. I think we surprised them." "Good," Minho said with a slight smile. "Surprise is often the most valuable weapon. In any conflict, Doyen, jam their communication systems. I don't want them calling for reinforcements." "Communications Specialist." Doyen's fingers flew over his control panel. Within seconds, he had located and disrupted the Velkari fleet's FTL communication array. "Communications blocked, sir. They cannot contact their home base or other ships." The Velkari were indeed in shock. Fleet Commander Thexval stared at the massive human warship in disbelief. How had their intelligence been so completely wrong? The reports claimed humans were technologically primitive, barely capable of interstellar travel. "Analysis," he demanded from his tactical officer. Velkara worked frantically at her station. "The ship is enormous, Commander. Mass readings indicate it's at least 15 times heavier than our flagship. I'm detecting weapon systems I cannot identify. Their energy output is beyond our measurement capabilities." "Impossible," Rexthor protested. "No ship that size could function. The power requirements alone would be impossible to meet." "And yet there it is," Velkara replied grimly. "Sir, I recommend immediate withdrawal. This vessel represents a threat, level we are not prepared to handle." Thexval's pride would not allow retreat. The Velkari Dominion had never fled from battle, especially not from a single enemy ship. Even if the humans had somehow hidden their true capabilities, 8 Velkari warships should be able to handle one human vessel. "Negative," he commanded. "All ships, attack formation. Concentrate fire on their weapon systems. Show these humans the price of deception." The Velkari fleet spread out into their standard attack pattern. Each ship powered up its primary weapons, targeting different sections of the human vessel. Plasma cannons began to glow with deadly energy. Particle beam arrays hummed with anticipation. On the Retribution, sensor operator Jamin watched the alien ships maneuver. "Admiral, the aliens are taking offensive positions. All their weapons are powering up. They intend to attack." "Let them," Minho replied calmly. "Sometimes demonstration is more effective than explanation. Raise shields to full power. All hands, prepare for combat." Engineer Sunho's voice came through the communication system from the engine room. "Admiral, all reactors operating at optimal efficiency. Power levels are stable across all systems. We can maintain maximum shield strength indefinitely." The bridge crew worked with practiced precision. Unlike the panicked activity on the Velkari ships, the humans remained calm and focused. They had trained for this exact scenario many times. Tactical analyst Dong Yun studied the enemy formation on his displays. "Standard alien attack pattern, Admiral. They're trying to overwhelm us with concentrated firepower. Their tactics follow predictable patterns based on conventional energy weapons, which is exactly what we expected," Minho noted. "The Velkari have won their previous battles through superior firepower and numbers. They've never faced an enemy that approached warfare from a completely different angle." Fire Control Officer Minji checked her weapon systems one final time. "All kinetic accelerators loaded and ready. Gravity manipulation systems operating normally. We can engage the moment you give the order." Admiral Minho studied the alien fleet through the main viewing screen. 8 ships, each one representing decades of alien military development. Their commanders probably believed they were about to achieve an easy victory against primitive human technology. "Not yet," he decided. "Let them fire first. I want them to understand exactly how outmatched they are before we respond." The Velkari flagship's main guns began to glow brighter. Across the fleet, weapon systems reached full charge. Fleet Commander Thexval raised his clawed hand, preparing to give the order that would demonstrate Velkari superiority once again. "All ships," he commanded, "fire at will. Destroy this human abomination." Space erupted in brilliant light as 8 alien warships unleashed their full firepower simultaneously. Plasma bolts and particle beams converged on the human vessel like the wrath of angry gods. The energy discharge was visible from light years away, but when the light faded, the human ship remained completely undamaged. Its shields had absorbed every shot without even flickering. The Retribution sat motionless in space, as if the devastating alien attack had been nothing more than a gentle breeze. On the Velkari flagship, shocked silence filled the bridge. Their most powerful weapons had accomplished absolutely nothing Against human defensive technology, Admiral Minho smiled coldly. Now it's our turn. The silence on the Velkari flagship stretched for long seconds. Fleet Commander Thexval stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His most powerful weapons had struck the human ship directly, yet their target showed no damage at all. Not even a scratch on their hull plating. "Report," he demanded, his voice tight with growing concern. Tactical Specialist Velkara worked frantically at her station. Her 4 arms moved across multiple control panels as she ran diagnostic after diagnostic. "All weapons fired successfully, Commander. Direct hits confirmed on target. But their shields absorbed 100% of our attack energy." "That's impossible," Sub-Commander Rexthor protested. "Our plasma cannons can melt through battleship armor. Our particle beams have destroyed entire space stations. No shield technology can stop that much concentrated firepower." "The readings don't lie," Velkara replied grimly. "Somehow their defensive systems converted our weapon energy into harmless radiation. I've never seen anything like it." On the human ship, Chief Science Officer Yeo Jin monitored the shield systems with professional interest. The Velkari attack had provided excellent data about alien weapon capabilities. Her screens showed detailed analysis of every shot fired. "Adaptive shield matrix performed perfectly," she reported to Admiral Minho. "The system identified plasma-based and particle-based attacks within microseconds. Shield frequency automatically adjusted to deflect all incoming energy." "Damage to our systems?" Minho asked. "None whatsoever. The alien weapons operate on predictable energy patterns. Our shields adapted faster than they could vary their attack frequencies, currently absorbing only 0.03% of our total power generation." Engineer Sunho's voice came through the communication system from deep within the ship. "All reactors operating normally, Admiral. We're barely using 10% of our total power output. The alien attack was weaker than our daily system tests." Minho nodded with satisfaction. Human military engineers had learned important lessons from studying captured alien technology over the past decade. While other species focused on building bigger guns, humans had developed adaptive defense systems that could counter any energy-based attack. "The beauty of human engineering," he explained to his bridge crew, "is that we don't just build better weapons, we build smarter systems. While the Velkari spent centuries perfecting brute force attacks, we developed technology that learns and adapts in real time." Weapons Officer Hia Jin turned from her station. "Admiral, should we return fire? Their ships are sitting motionless. Easy targets." "Not yet," Minho replied. "Let them try again first. I want them to fully understand that their weapons are useless before we demonstrate the effectiveness of ours." On the Velkari flagship, panic was beginning to set in among the bridge crew. Communications Officer Nexthara received frantic messages from the other ships in the fleet. Every captain was reporting the same impossible results. "Commander," she announced, "all ships confirm direct hits on the human vessel. All ships report 0 damage inflicted. The other captains are requesting new orders." Thexval's 6 eyes blazed with frustration. In 50 years of conquest, he had never encountered an enemy that could completely ignore Velkari firepower. Even the most advanced species they had defeated took significant damage from concentrated fleet attacks. "Full power to all weapon systems," he ordered. Route emergency power from life support if necessary. I want every gun in the fleet firing. At maximum capacity. Sir, Rexthor warned, that will drain our power reserves dangerously low. If this attack fails, we'll need time to recharge before we can jump to hyperspace. It won't fail, Thexval declared with more confidence than he felt. No shield can withstand the full power of 8 Velkari warships. The humans are using some kind of trick, but tricks have limits. The alien fleet began powering up for a second attack. Energy readings spiked across all their ships as reactors pushed beyond safe operating levels. Weapon systems that normally fired in sequence now prepared to discharge simultaneously. Sensor operator Jamin watched the enemy preparations with interest. Admiral, the aliens are overloading their power systems. They're attempting to overwhelm our shields through sheer energy output. A reasonable tactical decision, Minho acknowledged. Based on their understanding of shield technology, massive energy discharge should eventually break through any defense. Unfortunately for them, they don't understand how our systems actually work. Lieutenant Cheong looked up from her intelligence analysis station. Sir, based on their power output, this second attack will be approximately 3 times stronger than their first attempt. Still nowhere near enough, Chief Science Officer Yo-Jin commented. Our adaptive shields can handle energy levels 50 times greater than what they're generating. The system was designed to counter weapons we haven't even built yet. The second Velkari attack began with blinding intensity. Every ship in their fleet fired everything they had, creating an energy storm that lit up the surrounding space like a miniature star. Plasma streams thick as city blocks hammered into the human ship's shields. Particle beams that could cut through solid rock struck again and again. The light show was spectacular. Energy discharges created aurora effects in the nearby asteroid field. The sheer amount of power being thrown at the human vessel would have vaporized a small moon. And once again, it accomplished absolutely nothing. The Retribution sat calmly in the middle of the energy storm, its shields flickering only slightly, as they absorbed and redirected the alien attacks. The ship's hull remained completely undamaged. Even the paint wasn't scratched. Shield efficiency actually improved during the second attack, Yo-Jin reported with obvious satisfaction. The system learned from the first engagement. It's now predicting their weapon patterns before they fire. On the Velkari ships, the impossible sight of their total failure began to break crew morale. Weapons Officer Kexamara on the cruiser. Dark Vengeance stared at her readings in horror. Captain, our most powerful guns are having no effect at all. The human ship isn't even bothering to maneuver. They're just sitting there absorbing everything we throw at them. Captain Zethval of the Dark Vengeance felt cold fear creeping into his heart. What kind of technology allows such perfect defense? Our intelligence said humans were primitives barely capable of space travel. Our intelligence was wrong, Kexmara replied grimly. These humans have developed defensive systems beyond anything in our database. Sir, I recommend immediate retreat while we still have power to reach hyperspace. Similar conversations were taking place on every Velkari ship. Experienced warriors who had conquered star systems were beginning to realize they faced an enemy completely outside their understanding Fleet Commander Thexval refused to accept defeat. The Velkari Dominion had never retreated from battle. Their reputation for invincibility was the foundation of their empire. If word spread that humans could defeat Velkari fleets, rebellions would break out across dozens of conquered worlds. All ships, prepare for ramming attack, he commanded. If we cannot break their shields with weapons, we'll crush their hull with our own ships. The order caused shocked silence across the fleet communication network. Ramming attacks were suicide missions, used only in the most desperate circumstances. But Thexval was beyond rational thinking now. His pride would not allow him to flee. From primitives, Commander, Rexthor protested. Ramming a ship that size will destroy us all, and if their shields can stop our weapons, they can probably stop our hulls as well. Then we die with honor, Thexval replied coldly. Better death than the shame of defeat by inferior species. On the human ship, the crew watched the alien preparations with professional interest. Tactical analyst Dong Yun studied the changing enemy formations. Admiral, the Velkari ships are abandoning weapons formation. They appear to be preparing for ramming attacks. All 8 vessels are lining up to strike us simultaneously. Desperate measures, Minho observed. They've realized their weapons are useless, so they're falling back on the most primitive attack possible, physical collision. Should we move out of their way? Navigation Officer Su Yung asked. No need, Minho replied. Our shields will stop their ships just as easily as they stopped their weapons. But I think it's time to end this demonstration. Hyejin, prepare for counterattack. Weapons Officer Hyejin smiled coldly as she activated the Retribution's offensive systems. Kinetic accelerators loaded and ready, Admiral. Targets locked on all enemy vessels. Fire Control Officer Minji, coordinate with Tactical. I want precision shots. Disable their engines, but keep the ships intact. We'll need prisoners for intelligence gathering. Understood, Admiral. Targeting enemy propulsion systems now. The Velkari fleet began their final desperate charge. 8 warships accelerated toward the human vessel at maximum speed, their crews, preparing for glorious death in battle. They had no idea they were about to witness a demonstration of weapons technology that would change galactic warfare forever. Admiral Minho watched the approaching ships with calm patience. Fire when ready. Admiral Minho studied the approaching Velkari ships with the calm patience of an experienced predator. The 8 alien vessels had abandoned all pretense of sophisticated tactics, rushing toward the Retribution in a desperate ramming attack. Their crews believed they were making a heroic final charge against a superior enemy. They had no idea how superior that enemy truly was. Hyejin, Minho said quietly to his weapons officer. Select the smallest escort ship. Single shot, minimal power. Let's show them what human kinetic weapons can accomplish. Weapons Officer Hyejin's fingers moved across her control panel with practiced precision. The Retribution's main kinetic accelerator rotated slowly, tracking the Velkari escort vessel, Swift Death. The weapon looked deceptively simple compared to the massive energy cannons used by most galactic civilizations. Target locked on escort vessel, she reported. Projectile loaded and ready. Minimal power setting engaged. Fire Control Officer Minji, coordinate the shot. I want clean data on projectile performance and enemy vessel destruction patterns. Free. Control Officer Minji nodded as she prepared her systems. All sensors focused on target area. Recording systems active. We'll capture every detail of the impact. On the Velkari escort ship Swift Death, Captain Vexthar drove his vessel forward at maximum acceleration. His ship was the smallest in the fleet, but he was determined to strike the first blow against the arrogant humans. Glory in battle was the highest honor a Velkari warrior could achieve. All power to forward shields, he commanded his crew. We'll punch through their defenses and tear their hull apart from the inside. His tactical officer, Sub-Lieutenant Kelshar, monitored enemy activity. Captain, the human ship's main weapon is tracking us. Large gun turret rotating to follow our approach. Let them target us, Vexthar replied with fierce pride. Our forward armor can withstand any energy weapon they possess. Their technology is clearly defensive in nature. They probably have weak offensive capabilities. It was the last mistake Captain Vexthar would ever make. Admiral Minho gave the firing order with simple finality. Fire. The Retribution's kinetic accelerator discharged with barely audible sound. Unlike energy weapons that created brilliant flashes and spectacular effects, the kinetic cannon simply launched its projectile into space with devastating efficiency. The tungsten slug was small, no larger than a coffee cup. It weighed only 15 kilograms. By galactic warfare standards, it was tiny compared to the massive energy blasts and explosive missiles used by most military forces. But the projectile traveled at 97% of light speed. The laws of physics transformed that small piece of metal into something far more destructive than any conventional weapon. At relativistic velocity, even tiny objects carried energy levels beyond imagination. The tungsten slug possessed kinetic energy equivalent to a medium-sized nuclear weapon. Captain Vexthar saw the projectile coming on his tactical display. A small dot moving impossibly fast toward his ship. He had milliseconds to register its approach before impact. The slug struck the Swift Death exactly amidships. The Velkari ship simply ceased to exist. The kinetic energy transfer was so massive and so sudden that the alien vessel vaporized instantly. Metal that had withstood decades of battle turned to superheated plasma. The ship's reactor containment failed, adding fusion energy to the destruction. What had been a 200-meter warship became a rapidly expanding cloud of glowing particles. The explosion lit up space for thousands of kilometers. Debris traveling at significant fractions of light speed created secondary impacts on nearby asteroids, vaporizing them as well. The shockwave from the destruction washed over the remaining Velkari ships, rattling their hulls and overloading their sensors. On the bridge of the Death's Edge, Fleet Commander Thexval watched in absolute horror as one of his ships was completely annihilated by a single shot. His 6 eyes could barely process what had happened. The human weapon had destroyed a Velkari warship more thoroughly than anything he had ever witnessed. What kind of weapon was that? He whispered. Tactical Specialist Velkara worked frantically at her station, trying to analyze the attack. I'm reading massive kinetic energy discharge, Commander. The projectile was traveling at near light velocity. Impact energy exceeded our measurement capabilities. Impossible, Sub-Commander Rex Thor protested. No projectile can be accelerated to such speeds. The power requirements would be astronomical. And yet we just watched it happen, Velcara replied grimly. Sir, the humans have developed weapons that operate on completely different principles than anything in our database. While we focused on energy projection, they perfected kinetic warfare. The other Velcari ships had stopped their ramming attack, their crews stunned by the complete destruction of the Swift Death. Communications channels filled with panicked reports as captains tried to understand what they had witnessed. On the human ship, the crew monitored the results of their demonstration with professional satisfaction. Sensor operator Jamin confirmed the complete destruction of the target vessel. Direct hit confirmed, he reported. Enemy escort ship completely destroyed. No survivors detected. Debris pattern consistent with total molecular disruption. Excellent shot, Admiral Minho acknowledged. Tactical analyst Dong Yun, what's the enemy fleet response? Dong Yun studied the alien ship movements on his displays. All vessels have stopped their attack approach, Admiral. They appear to be in shock. Communications traffic between their ships has increased dramatically. They're beginning to understand, Chief Science Officer Yeojin observed. Their technology focuses on energy-based weapons and defenses. They have no experience with relativistic, kinetic warfare. Intelligence Officer Cheung looked up from her analysis station. Sir, based on their communication intercepts, the aliens are realizing their entire military doctrine is obsolete against our weapons. They're experiencing a complete tactical paradigm shift. Lieutenant Jamin detected new activity from the enemy fleet. Admiral, the alien ships are attempting to retreat. All vessels are turning away and powering up their hyperspace drives. Too late for that, Admiral Minho replied coldly. Communication Specialist Doyen, are their FTL systems still jammed? Affirmative, sir. I've been maintaining constant interference with their hyperspace navigation computers. They cannot jump to FTL while our jamming is active. Navigation Officer Su-Young, plot intercept courses for all remaining enemy vessels. They wanted a fight, so we'll give them one. Su-Young's calculations appeared on the main tactical display within seconds. Intercept courses plotted, Admiral. At our current speed, we can engage each enemy ship individually before any of them escape our jamming field. Fleet Commander Thex Vol realized with growing terror that his fleet was trapped. Every attempt to activate hyperspace drives failed due to human interference. The massive human warship was moving to intercept his fleeing vessels, and they had already demonstrated the devastating effectiveness of their weapons. All ships, evasive maneuvers, he commanded desperately. Scatter formation. Make it difficult for them to target us all. But Admiral Minho had anticipated this response. Human tactical doctrine emphasized overwhelming firepower applied with surgical precision. The Retribution carried multiple kinetic accelerators, each one capable of destroying enemy vessels with single shots. Multiple targets fleeing in different directions, Weapons Officer Hyejin reported. All weapon systems ready for engagement. Engage at will, Minho ordered. Disable their propulsion systems. I want prisoners for interrogation, not more debris fields. The systematic destruction of the Velkari fleet began with mechanical efficiency. Each kinetic accelerator selected a different target. Projectiles launched at precise intervals, traveling across space at impossible speeds. Unlike their first shot, which had completely destroyed the Swift Death, these projectiles were carefully aimed at engine sections. The goal was to disable, rather than annihilate, leaving the ships helpless but intact. The cruiser Bloodfang lost its entire rear section when a tungsten slug punched through its engine room. The ship tumbled helplessly through space, its crew stunned but alive. The destroyer Void Render suffered a similar fate as its propulsion systems were surgically removed by another kinetic projectile. Emergency power kept life support functioning, but the ship could no longer maneuver. One by one, the Velkari vessels found themselves crippled and helpless. Their crews watched in growing despair as human weapons picked apart their fleet with contemptuous ease. On the flagship Death's Edge, Fleet Commander Thexval prepared his final message to the Dominion. His ship would be destroyed soon, but perhaps his warning could save other Velkari fleets from sharing his fate. "This is Fleet Commander Thexval of the Death's Edge," he began recording. "We encountered a human warship in Sector 77 Alpha. They are not the primitive species we believed. Our entire battle doctrine is obsolete against their technology. They fight like demons, and their weapons ignore our defenses." He paused, watching another of his ships lose power as human kinetic weapons found their mark. "Any commander who faces humans in battle should retreat immediately. We were 8 ships against 1, and we never had a chance. The age of Velkari supremacy is ending. The humans are coming, and we cannot stop them." The space battlefield was now filled with the wreckage and debris of what had once been the mighty Velkari fleet. 7 disabled warships drifted helplessly through the void, their engines destroyed by precise kinetic strikes. Emergency lights flickered across their hulls as crews struggled to maintain life support systems. Admiral Minho walked slowly around the bridge of the Retribution, observing his crew as they completed the systematic destruction of enemy resistance. Each officer worked with calm professionalism, treating the annihilation of an entire alien fleet as routine business. "Damage report," he requested from Engineer Sunho. "No damage to any of our systems, Admiral," came the reply through the communication channel. "Shield generators operating at normal efficiency. All weapon systems ready for continued engagement. Power reserves at 94% capacity." The Admiral nodded with satisfaction. The human ship had faced 8 enemy warships and emerged without a scratch. More importantly, they had barely used any of their available resources. This had been a demonstration, not a real battle. "Fire Control Officer Minji, status of enemy vessels?" Minji consulted her targeting displays. "All 7. Remaining ships are disabled, sir. Propulsion systems destroyed on each vessel. Emergency power only. No weapons active. They are completely helpless." Weapons Officer Hyejin turned from her station. "Admiral, should we finish them off? Standard military doctrine suggests eliminating enemy forces to prevent future threats." "Negative," Minho replied. "We need prisoners for intelligence gathering. Besides, letting some survive will spread word of human capabilities throughout their empire. Fear is often more effective than total destruction." On the crippled Velkari flagship Death's Edge, Fleet Commander Thexval struggled to maintain command of his shattered fleet. Emergency power barely kept the bridge operational. Half his crew was injured from the kinetic impact that had destroyed their engine section. "Casualty reports," he demanded from his surviving officers. Communications officer Nexthara worked at a damaged console. "The Swift Death was completely destroyed with all hands, Commander. The other 6 ships report heavy damage, but most crew members are alive. Total casualties across the fleet, 200 dead, over 500 wounded. And we never even scratched their hull," Subcommander Rexthor said bitterly. "Our most powerful weapons were useless against their defenses. Their single shots destroyed our ships with ease." Thexval felt the weight of complete failure crushing down on him. In 50 years of conquest, the Velkari had never suffered such a devastating defeat. 8 warships reduced to helpless scrap by a single human vessel. The implications were terrifying. "Sir," Tactical Specialist Velkara called out weakly, "the human ship is moving toward us. They appear to be conducting some kind of scan." Through the main viewing port, the massive bulk of the Retribution slowly approached the disabled Velkari flagship. The human vessel was so large it blocked out the stars, casting the alien ship in shadow. Its weapon turrets tracked the Velkari, bridge ready to fire at the first sign of resistance. Aboard the human ship, sensor operator Jamin conducted detailed scans of each disabled enemy vessel. "Admiral, I'm detecting approximately 3,000 life signs across all 7 ships. Most are wounded but stable. Their technology appears to be based on plasma energy and particle beam systems. Primitive but effective against most opponents," Admiral Minho observed. "Unfortunately for them, human defensive technology was specifically designed to counter energy-based attacks." Intelligence Officer Che-Yong studied the data streaming from the alien ships. "Sir, based on their ship configurations and weapon systems, these appear to be standard Velkari military vessels. This confirms our intelligence reports about their Empire's military capabilities, which means this fleet represents their typical offensive strength," Minho concluded. "If 8 of their best warships cannot damage a single human vessel, their entire military doctrine is obsolete." Chief Science Officer Yeo Jin looked up from her analysis station. "Admiral, I'm detecting some interesting technology aboard their ships. Their shield generators operate on frequency modulation principles. Their weapons use plasma containment systems we haven't seen before." "Worth studying," Minho agreed. "Prepare boarding teams. We'll take control of their flagship for detailed examination. The other ships can wait." Lieutenant Jamin detected new activity from the alien vessels. "Sir, the disabled ships are attempting to send distress signals. They're trying to punch through our communications jamming." "Let them try," Admiral Minho replied. "Communications Specialist Do Yun, allow one brief transmission from their flagship. I want their Empire to receive a first-hand account of this battle." Doyen adjusted his jamming systems to allow a narrow communication window. "Channel open, sir. They have approximately 30 seconds before I resume full interference." On the Velkari flagship, Communications Officer Nexthara detected the brief opening in the human jamming field. "Commander, I have a clear channel. To Dominion Command. Shall I send our battle report? Fleet Commander Thexavel knew this might be his final communication with his own people. The humans would probably take him prisoner soon, assuming they didn't simply execute him for attacking their ship. Record this message, he ordered. Priority Alpha transmission to High Command. This is Fleet Commander Thexavel reporting complete. Defeat of Battle Group 7. We engaged a single human warship and were totally overwhelmed. He paused, gathering his thoughts. The next words would shock the entire Velkari military establishment. The humans possess defensive technology that renders our weapons completely ineffective. Their shields absorbed our full fleet firepower without damage. Their offensive capabilities are beyond our understanding. They destroyed the Swift Death with a single shot from an unknown weapon type. Thexavel looked around his damaged bridge at his surviving crew members. These were experienced warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds. Now they sat in stunned defeat, unable to comprehend how badly they had been outmatched. Recommend immediate strategic reassessment of human threat level, he continued. Our current military doctrine is obsolete against their technology. Any future engagement with human forces should involve overwhelming numerical superiority, if engagement is attempted at all. The transmission ended as the human jamming resumed. Across Velkari space, military commanders would soon be reading reports that challenged everything they believed about warfare and their own invincibility. Admiral Minho received confirmation that the alien message had been transmitted. Excellent. Now their leadership will understand the new balance of power in this region of space. Admiral, Tactical Analyst Dongyun called out, I'm detecting multiple ships approaching from the edge of the system. Long-range sensors indicate human military vessels. Right on schedule, Minho replied with satisfaction. The Thunderstrike and Devastator should arrive within the hour. We'll transfer the most important prisoners to Earth for detailed interrogation. Weapons Officer Hyejin looked puzzled. Sir, why do we need additional ships? The situation is already under complete control. This engagement was never about defeating one Velkari fleet, Admiral Minho explained. This was a field test of our new military technology against a typical alien force. The data we've gathered will be invaluable for future operations. HFY gestured toward the disabled alien ships drifting helplessly around them. More importantly, we now have living examples of Velkari military personnel, their ships, and their weapons. Our intelligence services will learn everything about their empire's capabilities and weaknesses. Engineer Sunho's voice came through the communication system. Admiral, boarding teams are ready for deployment. Marines are standing by to secure the alien flagship. Proceed with boarding operations, Minho ordered. I want complete control of their command ship within the hour. Treat the survivors as prisoners of war, but remember they attacked us first. On the Velkari flagship, the crew watched helplessly as human boarding shuttles approached their ship. These small craft were heavily armed and armored, clearly designed for hostile boarding operations. Should we resist? Rexthor asked his commander. Thexavel shook his head wearily. With what weapons? Our systems are destroyed. Our crew is wounded. These humans have demonstrated overwhelming superiority in every aspect of warfare. Resistance would only result in unnecessary deaths. He activated the ship's internal communication system. "All crew members, this is your commander. We are about to be boarded by human military forces. Offer no resistance. Comply with their orders. We are now prisoners of war." The first human Marines entered the Velkari bridge through the main airlock. They moved with professional efficiency, weapons ready but not immediately threatening. Their armor was unlike anything the aliens had seen, seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. The Marine Sergeant approached Fleet Commander Thexval directly. "I am Sergeant Kim of the Human Earth Forces. You are now prisoners of the United Earth Space Command. You will be treated according to interstellar military conventions." Thexval looked up at the human soldier. These creatures were smaller than Velkari, but they radiated an aura of complete confidence. They had just defeated 8 warships with a single vessel, and they acted as if such victories were routine. 3 hours after the battle ended, the human ships Thunderstrike and Devastator arrived at the battlefield. These massive vessels were even larger than the Retribution, their dark hulls bristling with weapons that defied conventional understanding. The sight of 3 human dreadnoughts in formation sent waves of terror through the Velkari prisoners. Admiral Minho stood in the medical bay of the Retribution, watching as Medical Officer Seung-jae treated wounded Velkari prisoners. The human doctor worked with professional competence, using advanced medical equipment to heal injuries that would have been fatal by alien standards. "Fascinating physiology," Seung-jae commented as he treated a Velkari warrior's plasma burns. 6 hearts, redundant nervous systems, natural armor plating. These creatures are built for warfare. Yet they lost completely to human technology, Admiral Minho observed. Physical advantages mean nothing when your entire military doctrine becomes obsolete overnight. Fleet Commander Thexval lay on a medical table nearby, his wounds being treated by human physicians who showed no malice toward their former enemies. This puzzled him greatly. Velkari warriors typically executed defeated foes or enslaved them. These humans seemed genuinely concerned about prisoner welfare. "Why do you heal us?" he asked Medical Officer Seung-jae. "We attacked your ship. We intended to kill your crew and steal your cargo." Seung-jae looked up from his medical scanner. "Because you're wounded, and we can help. Human military doctrine requires humane treatment of prisoners. We're not barbarians." The alien commander found this concept difficult to understand. "Your people show mercy to defeated enemies? This seems like dangerous weakness." "Not weakness," Admiral Minho interjected as he approached the medical table. "Strength. We can afford to be merciful because we're completely superior. Your entire fleet couldn't scratch our hull. Why should we fear showing compassion?" Thexval studied the human admiral's face. These creatures were smaller than Velkari, lacking natural armor or claws. Yet they had developed technology that made physical advantages irrelevant. They fought with their minds rather than their bodies. "Your weapons," he said weakly. "How do they work?" "Our energy shields stopped nothing. Our armor provided no protection." "Kinetic warfare," Minho explained simply. "While your species developed energy-based weapons, humans perfected the art of throwing rocks very, very fast. Physics does the rest." In the ship's intelligence section, Intelligence Officer Che-Young was conducting detailed interrogations of senior Velkari officers. The information being gathered would reshape human understanding of galactic politics and military capabilities. "Tell me about your Empire's fleet strength," she requested from captured Subcommander Rexthor. The alien officer had initially refused to cooperate, but the overwhelming nature of his defeat had broken his resistance. The Dominion maintains approximately 800 warships across 17 sectors. Each battle group consists of 8 to 12 vessels similar to those you destroyed. Che-Young made notes on her datapad. And these battle groups have conquered 17 different species? Correct. The Velkari are masters of conventional warfare. We perfected plasma weapons and particle beam technology over centuries of conflict. No other species could withstand our military might. Until now, Che-Young observed. Rexthor nodded miserably. Until now. Your people fight in ways we never imagined. Your defensive systems make our weapons useless. Your offensive capabilities are beyond our comprehension. The interrogation continued as human intelligence officers gathered detailed information about Velkari military installations, fleet deployments, and conquered territories. This data would prove invaluable for future operations. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Minho was conducting a secure communication with Earth Command. High Admiral Park appeared on the main screen, her expression showing satisfaction with the mission results. "Excellent work, Admiral," she said. "Your battle report confirms our projections about alien military capabilities. The kinetic warfare doctrine appears to be devastatingly effective against conventional energy-based defenses." "Yes, ma'am," Minho replied. The Velkari fleet was completely outmatched. Our shields absorbed their attacks without strain. Our weapons destroyed their ships with single shots. I estimate one human dreadnought could defeat 20 of their vessels without difficulty. And the intelligence gathered from prisoners? Intelligence Officer Che-Young stepped forward. "We're learning everything about their empire, Admiral. Fleet, strengths, territorial holdings, military doctrine, conquered species. The Velkari have detailed information about dozens of other alien civilizations." High Admiral Park smiled coldly. "Perfect. The Galactic Council has been ignoring our diplomatic requests for months. They seem to believe humans are too primitive to deserve representation. This battle should change their perspective." "What are our next orders, ma'am?" Admiral Minho asked. "Continue to the Kepler 442 system and deliver those medical supplies, as originally planned. Let the colonists know their cargo run was slightly delayed by hostile aliens. Then proceed to the Velkari home system for follow-up negotiations." Admiral Minho raised an eyebrow. "Negotiations, ma'am?" "The Velkari Empire is about to discover the price of attacking human vessels," High Admiral Park explained. "They will compensate us for the inconvenience, provide detailed intelligence about other hostile species, and formally recognize human territorial claims in this sector. And if they refuse, then we'll demonstrate that the Retribution is not the only ship in our fleet. We have 11 more vessels just like her, plus supporting task forces. The Velkari can choose cooperation or complete military defeat." The communication ended, leaving Admiral Minho to contemplate the implications of recent events. Humanity had spent decades being ignored or dismissed by established galactic powers. That era was now ending. Communications Specialist Doyun, he ordered, transmit the following message on all standard diplomatic frequencies. Broadcast continuously until further notice. Doyun prepared his equipment. Ready to transmit, Admiral. This is Admiral Minho of the United Earth Space Command. Ship Retribution. Earlier today, vessels of the Velkari Dominion attacked a human medical transport without provocation. The attacking fleet has been neutralized with minimal human casualties. Any alien vessels that threaten human ships or colonies should expect similar results. Humanity is no longer defenseless against aggression. The message began broadcasting across multiple star systems, reaching alien civilizations throughout the local galactic region. Within hours, diplomatic channels that had been closed to humanity for years began receiving urgent communications. In the prisoner holding area, Fleet Commander Thexval was speaking quietly with his surviving officers. The reality of their situation was beginning to sink in among the Velkari crew. Commander, Communications Officer Nexathara said, what will happen to our empire when word of this defeat spreads? The conquered species will realize we can be beaten. Rebellions will break out across our territory. Rexthor agreed grimly. The fear of Velkari military might was the only thing keeping 17 species under our control. Thexval nodded, slowly. The humans have not just defeated our fleet. They have shattered the foundation of our empire. Within months, the Dominion may cease to exist. Perhaps that is justice, Tactical Specialist Velkara said quietly. We conquered through strength, and now we face defeat by superior strength. The cycle continues. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Sergeant Kim and a squad of human Marines. The soldiers moved with professional efficiency, showing no hostility toward their prisoners. Fleet Commander Thexval, the sergeant announced. Admiral Minho requests your presence on the bridge. There is something he wishes you to see. Curious despite his circumstances, Thexval allowed himself to be escorted to the human command center. The bridge of the Retribution was unlike anything he had imagined. Where Velkari ships relied on brutal functionality, human technology combined efficiency with surprising elegance. Ah, Commander, Admiral Minho greeted him. I wanted you to witness this moment personally. The main viewing screen showed space around the 3 human warships. In the distance, multiple points of light were approaching at high speed. As they drew closer, Thexval realized he was looking at ships from dozens of different alien species. What is this? He asked. Diplomatic vessels, Admiral Minho explained. Representatives from the Galactic Council, various independent species, even some of the civilizations your empire conquered. Word of our battle has spread quickly. Thexval watched in amazement as alien ships that had never shown interest in humanity suddenly arrived to establish contact. Species that had dismissed humans as primitives now sent their finest diplomats to negotiate with the people who had defeated the mighty Velkari. They come to see if the rumors are true, he realized. If humans really did destroy a Velkari battle, Group with a single ship. More than that, Admiral Minho replied. They come to negotiate new treaties, establish trade agreements, and form alliances. The galactic balance of power has shifted, Commander. Your defeat has announced humanity's arrival as a major force in this region of space. The alien commander felt a mixture of despair and grudging admiration. The humans had not just won a battle,